It's Murder Inc. You're watching Cook Goes Hunting. Bye.
Bam. We're live now, bro. That Murder Inc. Thanks for coming down to hang out when we do this podcast. Dude, that's awesome.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you're saying that you loved the trip down here and you had been down in this area
Yeah.
for...
I come through this area a couple times a year because I have family, like what's considered the Outer Banks, North Carolina.
Yeah.
I actually have family down there, so driving down there a couple times a year to hang out with them, and me and my dad love to fish down there. Like, we're huge into that.
Mhm.
But, yeah, like, coming down through here, on my way back after we went shark fishing, like, a month ago.
Where'd you go shark fishing at?
The Outer Banks.
Oh, and in the Outer Banks.
Yeah,
Okay,
right,
good.
yeah. You know, my dad knows that area, like, really, really well. And he can always put me and him on to fish. But on the way back, I was thinking, man, I know that Cook is, like, right here somewhere. I
Yeah.
just don't know exactly. Because you and I had never, like, gone over details of, like...
No.
And I'm the same way.
I'm pretty big on, I don't like to give away exactly my location of things. And that's just... Dude, there's weirdos on the internet, man. There's weirdos on the internet. Not saying the people watching this are weirdos, but some of them might be.
Yeah, right. But, like, yeah, and I'm the same way. I live in the middle of the mountains, Appalachian Mountains of Pennsylvania. I have to go, like, 2.5 hours any direction.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're both Appalachian Americans. We're both Appalachian Americans.
Yeah, they love to hate us, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I that's when I got a hold of you. I said, man, I got to make a drive down. Like, you and I are on the same page with a lot of stuff. We have that.
Yeah, you came in. See, I made I haven't had my channel very long. Definitely not very long in the YouTube world. And I know that you were definitely. I'm pretty damn sure that you were under 50 for me. Like, you were. It was like you fly fishing ninjas.
44, 45.
I think it was under 50. Like, if I would say under 100, that wouldn't be doing it justice, I feel.
Yeah, like I said, I feel we were 44, 45
yeah.
with you. We were, and even at that point in time, I think I was around the 200 mark.
Yeah,
and
you were pushing. You were pushing numbers real good, and I knew. It was a race, man. I was sitting there thinking. I was like, who's going to make the 1,000 first? Is it going to be Fly Fishing Ninja? Is it going to be Murder Inc?
Yeah, and
hit his.
Another thing that I did was I made sure that I kind of like peeled back a little bit because at the time he had been so much more of a champion for that community and for everybody.
Absolutely.
And I thought
He's got me many people towards my channel.
Right, yeah. There a lot of his live streams you and I were in, and you had even had in the chat room said, "Man, I just got like 4 or 5 subs from this chat."
Just from talking and saying what's up to the dude.
Right,
the guy. I think that's an awesome thing.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome that people.
I made sure that I peeled back and was like, I'm not going to push myself towards 1,000. Number one, because I don't want to be monetized anyway. That's not why I'm doing this, like at all. Yeah. And even then, I don't need a $5 check every month from YouTube. I just don't care.
Right. Right. And I don't know. I get. It's the same way I do with like anything, man. I get goal oriented, and and that's one of those goals. And for me, it's like I don't really give a shit about what comes with 1,000. I give a shit about just hitting that mark.
Right.
That's the only thing that I think about.
And I had made a video for Ninja when he hit 1,000 saying, I like this guy because he's like the most genuine, honest. He's posting videos of his wife scaring the hell out of him.
That was hilarious. Dude, I thought he peed a little bit.
Not in my drunkest mind would I post a video of me getting a car.
Hell no, man.
But then again, like, I'm not that jumpy, so but I love that about him. It gives me something to like connect with him and laugh about. And him and I had talked outside of YouTube,
Right, you guys, because we were talking about doing collabs pretty early on. Pretty early on, we were talking about doing collabs, but we were talking about doing hunting collabs, and of course you have to wait around until hunting season for that to happen. It's not like we can just, hey, we got a weekend off, let's go hunting. Like, we can't do that. You have to wait till a certain time. And then I think, even though that's one of the, I look forward to it so much, but when it comes down to like linking up to do all that kind of stuff, it does put a damper on your hunting game a little bit, as in like, man, I might miss out the first day, or it's a lot of logistics.
And everything that I prepare for is solo mission, just me.
Right.
This is where I want to hunt, how I want to hunt. So bringing anybody, whether it's a close friend or relative with me, changes how I want to do it.
Absolutely, the dynamic
How can
changes.
I set it up so I can get that guy an easy shot here without... And I've even taken, with my nephew...
Without them ruining my own
with that turkey hunt, I took him where I was going to sit, where I knew turkeys were, and gave him first dibs on a really nice bird that he got. But I had to sacrifice. And then next week, lo and behold, nothing shows up.
Yep, that's how it always works out, dude. That's how it always works out.
Did I piss this spot away but at the same time, I would much rather see him be successful than me. But doing a collab can definitely change up a lot of different things.
It's just it's just one of those things, especially like you said. I train for solo hunts. Like, I always train and I put in the work for to train for the worst fucking hunt imaginable, and that's my goal.
Yeah.
And the reason why I do that is because when it's not the worst hunt imaginable, it's just a bonus. It's just a bonus in my mind.
Yeah, right.
And if I have somebody that comes along, awesome, great. But there's always that dynamic of, who's going to take the first shot? What's the dynamic of, well, whose land is it? Is it my buddy's land that he wants me to take him out hunting on? I talk about, like, you remember the hunt in the cabin when I started? I was in the blind, and my buddy Colin didn't show up the first fucking time, and then he showed up the second day.
Yeah.
We were at his land hunting, and I was doing my thing, but it definitely changes the aspect of him. Like, I waited a little bit longer than I wanted to on the first day, seeing if he was going to wake up or do it. He's got a wife and a kid, a pregnant wife at the time.
Oh, there you go.
And so I was like, I'm not going to just do the army thing and kick in his door and drag him the fuck out of bed. Just like, bro, come on, let's go. You're fucking late. That's what I want to do, but I can't do that. So it definitely... I got out a little bit later than I wanted. It didn't turn out to be fruitful. But fuck dwelling on it, man. I was out hunting. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like fruitful, I kind of put it I define it differently.
Absolutely.
If you get something every time, it totally takes away getting something when you finally do it. And for me, there was a point in time where I was in, I had just had my kids, and I was, for whatever reason, was I have to provide for my family mode. So any deer that walked past was getting killed and butchered.
Yeah.
But then after a while, after so many deer and so many tags, I was like, oh my God, this is getting to be like a job, because I know every weekend I'm going to have to skin a deer or two, and
that's the problem with early season that I seem to run into, is you have to, because of just the temperature alone. I can't let... In late season, I can let a deer sit in that fucking, hanging in that garage back there and for days.
Yeah, and honestly, that I feel is the best meat you get is when you can leave something hanging.
I like 2-day hangs.
Yes.
I like 2-day hangs.
If you have the right temperature.
Yeah, if you have the right, everything lines up.
Early season, you got to have a cooler in the truck just in case you can't get to it right away.
And that's what I'm talking about that's what I'm starting to realize when I'm putting together this early season hunt that we're going to go on here since I'm getting into, because bow season always starts early before everything else, and you do have the chance to get the drop on the deer. They don't know that people are out hunting yet. They don't know what's going on, but you're also shooting a bow and arrow, so you got to be on your point to get something. I think
it's not going to fall down right there. But you can drag it to the truck,
or I can't just walk out on a garage with a shit ton of or a deck or anything, and then make a 100-200 yard shot with some deer that you can with a rifle. I mean, you can literally do that. I choose not to do that sometimes.
Yeah, right.
But it's an entirely different aspect. And I was sitting there thinking, I was like, if I do these backcountry, if I do these hunts where I'm staying out in the woods the entire time, and I actually pitch a tent and do what I did it late season last year. I did it real late when it was real super cold, and that's that video I had where I fucking almost got frost nip on my goddamn toes. I was sitting there thinking, Then I was like, if I need to, I'm gonna stay. I'm just gonna hang meat in trees. I got some 550 cord. I'll do the same thing they do with elk. I'll hang it, or I'll just. Well, we're in bear country, so I gotta hang it high anyways.
Yeah,
so
right, yeah.
So I'd hang it. I'd pull it up high and let it sit and keep on hunting. But this year, early season, it's not gonna be. Especially with, you can tell the climate's fucking changing. You can tell the climate's changing because it's not. I can remember when I was a kid, man. October, Halloween. Trick or treating, I was freezing my balls
Yeah,
off.
and do you remember the one with snow? You would have been like, I don't know, like 9, 10 years old. You're a couple years older than me.
Yeah, I'm 34.
There was one we had where there was snow.
Yeah.
I remember that one like very well because of
I remember
for obvious reasons.
Freezing, getting candy and stuff. I think I pulled it in early too. I was like, I just can't deal with this. And nowadays it's October, it's still 60, 70 degrees.
Right,
out.
yeah. It's definitely a thing, and like I'm not one of those people that's fully on board with climate change. It's like, oh my god, in 10 years we're gonna be flooded with the Arctic ice caps and stuff. But like the climate change is always happening. Like
I feel like you have to say that kind of stuff because without extremities, then you can't make change. People are not going to get off for fucking, hey, we're 2 degrees above.
yeah, and like the right wing is totally against like
Yeah.
climate change, and I'm just like, climate change always happens, whether it's somebody saying it's happening or not. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's going to happen.
And like what another thing people don't realize is we are just like a pimple on like the Earth's ass.
Absolutely.
We've only been here a little tiny bit of time.
Absolutely. It's one of the longest times that civilizations has been thriving because of us and our technology.
Right,
Technological
and like
advances.
Mother Nature's not going to think anything to totally revamp everything, shit us out, and keep.
No,
on
I was watching.
It's gonna happen.
I was watching Joe Rogan last night with Remy Warren actually, and he was talking about this volcano that went off, I think in Indonesia or something like that, that killed off the first civilizations. Like, there's a theory saying that it produced a massive amount of ash clouds and stuff like that, and it actually came down to like a population of the world being like 10,000 people.
Right.
And that's what they're talking about, how these old civilizations that are still way above where we would think they would be in time, like as in like the Mayan cultures and Mayan civilizations, like all the pyramids, like Machu Picchu, stuff like that. They're saying that at some point civilization died, and there's only like 10,000 people in the world. I'd like to, when I get way more high tech over here, we'll do some laptop searching and research our facts instead of
that's
talking.
like something I'm definitely into.
But that history, he was talking about that there was he said a volcano in Indonesia, I think.
Right. And I think that's what's like the scare with Yosemite right now, I think.
Right.
Or Yellowstone is the one, is where they feel like that's going to blow at any second. They said the ash cloud for that and the wind that's going to take it will wipe out like 3/4 of the population of America. We'll be in, for lack of a better term, like a nuclear winter. Now, it won't be nuclear, obviously, but like that same scenario is going to happen. And so that's probably like a very valid thing that might have happened.
I hope before that happens. I can stick, drop, drag out, and eat some elk meat, man.
Get out to the Rockies.
yeah. I hope they push. I hope the herds come our way.
And then it was like a month ago. Like I was reading like news clips where it was like super active, and they're like, oh crap, like the seismologists and everything were like, I don't know, man. But that I don't believe everything you read. You know what I mean? I'm like, I don't know. Like
it's healthy to have be skeptical about.
It
stuff,
is, but at the same
nowadays.
time, like I just look at somebody's going to make money off this. They're going to push some sort of
that's what I think about it too. I always try to see who has underlying.
Who has the most gain from this?
Yeah, same thing. Like there's ulterior motives with a lot of shit, and there's a lot of ulterior motives with even just putting out scientific journals and stuff like that. They have ulterior motives. I mean, look how much the coal companies and power companies has forced false scientific research for their own gain.
Right.
You know what I mean? Marijuana being one of them. When they say, oh, if you smoke marijuana, the black women, they're gonna your white women's gonna want the black guys, and the black guys are gonna start raping your white women and blah blah blah.
I don't think that has any
1950s fucking bullshit that they try to push out.
Let's mix racism and like stereotyping
absolutely.
drugs into one thing.
So
We'll get the best,
stupid.
but we'll get people to only not stop smoking marijuana, but like we'll try
Be
and add some
completely
racism
against it.
Yeah, add some racism in there just for good measure.
Just for good measure.
Like, I don't think that white women wanting black men has anything to do with marijuana.
No,
I can think of one thing that it has to do
massive penises.
with perhaps like that stereotype, whether it might not be a stereotype, it might be fact.
I think even if I had to deal with like having a shitty fucking history growing up, because let's not sugarcoat it. They had a shitty fucking history.
Yeah. There wasn't too many African Americans that grew up and were like, man, I had it made, like straight like, highway to Harvard. And I'm out here like making bank, like
exactly.
Suck it. No.
Yeah.
Like especially like in the American South. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And that's where the majority at the time. That's where the majority of African Americans were. You know.
Right. But like I was telling you, we had we've been here for a couple hours now. I want to discuss like little topics that we brought up. Oh, excuse me, beer. Excuse me. One of the first topics I brought up, especially when it comes to, since we're on hunting topics, is that real disconnect between people and their food.
Right.
And I think that's a huge issue nowadays. I think factory farming is shit. I do think factory farming is shit. But it's also, I'm a believer that it is a necessary evil. It is a necessary evil or people starve. And because it's completely, I think, because that disconnect's there, and we've developed a system where nobody goes, we have enough food to feed everybody. Don't get me wrong.
And some of the rest of the world, too.
Yes, exactly, and we do. But because of that, you have the option to be like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to eat that at all. I want to be vegan, or I want to be vegetarian, or anything like that because of factory farming. Because of that, bro, go eat your ball. Go on, get it. Oh, man. That's my fault, puppy. Sorry. You get it. They're afforded that opportunity to change their diet into a strict vegan vegetarian thing.
Right. And what a luxury to have.
Yes.
I mean, because there's so many, cultures or populations in the world that don't have that option. And like one thing that always gets me is like the Asians and rice is like by like just science alone, like rice should make you extremely overweight and lethargic. You know what I mean? But yet the Asian culture, for the most part, is not obese, and they're very active. And so it's a thing.
But there's a lot of seafood too. They put a lot of protein in their system with that seafood.
Well, tons of it where they should be poisoned by whatever is in
That's
salt
a big
water.
thing.
Right, but the thing is, like, I think your culture or where you grow up, like, it's in your genes or whatever to be able to adapt. Like, the Asians must have, like, such a high metabolism toward just rice where they can eat tons of it because it's the only thing they had.
Well, I mean, it's the same way. You know that if you are an overweight male, massively obese, and your old lady's a massively obese person, and you have a kid, you will pass that fat gene on to your kid.
Absolutely.
You can, and he will be an overweight kid.
Absolutely.
Until that is a real thing.
Right.
That
Absolutely.
is a real thing.
Right.
And I imagine the same thing happens. Like if the Asian culture is rice and seafood, and like you said, with rice you should be massively huge. Like you should be.
Right. They're eating that every meal of every day.
Every meal of every day of some fashion. Like I guess.
They spend their lives growing it in rice paddies.
Well, I mean, it's the same way as like I can remember Afghanistan-wise when they told us don't eat the local food, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm going over here and I'm going to eat some local food. I don't give a shit if it gives me diarrhea or not.
Right.
I don't give a fuck.
That's like one of the best parts of travel.
Yeah. I want to know. I'll never be here again. I'll never be here again in my entire life, and if I do, I'm
not
probably
by free will.
Yeah, not by free will. I was like, I gotta experience this stuff, dude. Some of the greatest vegetables I've ever tasted in my entire life.
Yeah.
I've never been a big liker of like tomatoes and stuff. Dude, I could eat those tomatoes in Afghanistan like an apple, and I was like, these are delicious. These are what tomatoes actually taste like.
Right, because what we get here is nothing like what a tomato is, like, at all. And I'm the same way. I don't eat tomatoes from restaurants or anything, or necessarily even from like a roadside, farmer's market.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't like the taste of them. But
right.
What you're saying makes absolute sense.
It's incredible.
You got to eat a tomato and everything it was intended to be.
Yeah, and they also told us we would get kebabs, is what the big thing was. We get kebabs with little pita bread, and it had goat meat in it. And I liked mine. They did it spicy, and they had a bunch of green leafies that they put in it. Well, what they do is when they respect you or they like you, they give you the big chunks of fat in them. When they found out that this is for we'd send our terps out while we were doing missions, and they would just go to in the city and grab us like pitas and chips, which is just French fries that are they have this spicy stuff on them. And if they find out, they know Jihad and like Hamar, they know they're terps for the Americans. Like the terps are pretty well known in the local area.
Right, yeah.
And they'd come back and they'd have so many hunks of fat in the thing. So we'd have to open them up and we'd have to take all the fat out and we'd give it to our terps because they were like, that's the best part. That's the greatest thing ever. It's like, if we eat it, we get sick. Like you legitimately get sick if you eat that hunk of fat from that goat.
Right.
But I never got sick off like the just legitimate meat.
Okay.
But there's stuff that's held in the fats. Kind of like there's stuff held in bone marrow that's not held in the meat.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah.
But when we were talking about the disconnect from food, I think everybody should just, if you're going to be a meat eater, if you're going to eat burger and you're going to do whatever you want, I think you should go through the entire process at least once in your life of doing it. Like even if you go down and help butcher a cow, you know what I mean? If you're just doing beef,
right.
But I like to know that when I go deer hunting, I'm eating a herbivore, that's doesn't pound in nothing but green leafies in their entire life.
Right.
And I know why I'm hunting that deer, and that's provide meals for me and my family.
Right.
And so that, you can go to the grocery store. That's great. You can do that, right? But I also I know that in that deer there's no preservatives. You know what I mean? There's not a shit ton of sodium pushed into that fucking thing.
Right.
I don't think you can get anywhere closer to your food than harvesting it yourself.
Right.
And I don't know what it is, man, but I think the fact that I earned that food, like I put in the work and the time to earn that meal, it sits real well with me. Real well with me. It makes me feel great. Like,
yes.
I just did the other day, I did back straps with zucchini fries that I cut up into little fries, and I just egg washed them and then put Parmesan cheese on them and then put them in the oven at 400, and they turned out delicious. And it's straight keto because I'm on a keto diet, so I go real low carbs, high fat. It was amazing, and those were the zucchinis that that's the first time I've ever, like I was telling you, I grew them out of my garden. It's the first zucchini I ever harvested, planted, grew, harvested, and ate all on my own.
Okay.
And it was just something about having that plate there.
Yeah.
That it was like, man.
The satisfaction was like multiplied.
Absolutely, 100%.
Right.
Like I sat my plate down and I looked at it and I was just like, man. Like even the egg wash, we have chickens out back, so the egg wash that we used in the thing was from our own chicken.
Yeah, and
I was like, it's a good feeling, man, and I just feel energized and great that I could make that happen, especially when I don't need to. It's too easy not to do that nowadays.
And I think that comes down to, and like I will swear to this to the day I die, like instinct. You knew that you were the one that grew those zucchinis. Those eggs came from your chickens that you raised. That meat came from something you harvested.
Right.
I think that comes down to pure instinct. It's like eat, sleep, fuck, whatever.
Yeah, you have
There's a
primal
few
instincts.
right. There's a few things that are just embedded into every freaking.
100%. I'll tell you the one thing that I know for a fact that everybody has a link to, and that is fucking making a fire. Like, if you...
Yeah, that's another one.
No shit. It doesn't matter where you're at, what situation you're in. If you can legitimately just make a fire and just sit around that fire and watch it, you feel a security that's not actually there, but is.
It's that primal instinct.
It's a primal... Dude, that came from the ooze. That came from the ooze. The moment cavemen made fucking fire somewhere off of some lightning tree, off of some tree that got struck by lightning, and was like, what the fuck is this?
And then,
this is great.
Right.
And then they preserve it. How can I preserve it? You have to think about if you were a caveman and the first time you saw fire and you were like, I bet you they just let it go out. They're like, this is super nice. This is great. Now it's gone. What do we do? Where do we get this back? And they're like, maybe something from the sky will give me fire. Could you imagine thinking that way?
And how many times they must have experienced it before
they
wildfires or whatever, before they went, this is cool. We need this in our life.
How can we make that? And I guarantee, I bet you preserving came before making. I bet you preserving came before making. I bet you it's like, oh, I'm holding a stick on this, now this is on fire.
Right.
How can I keep this fire with me
and
on long trip?
And the thing you have to remember is, like, these people, like, caloric intake was their life.
Right.
So if I can go sit by a fire tonight instead of in that cold cave, I don't have to eat first thing in the morning just to survive.
Yeah.
And it had to be a huge revelation for them.
It's, they talk about, what was that? Have you ever heard of the stoned ape theory?
Yeah, kind of. Like, I haven't really gone down exploring
it. We should definitely look into that. I think you would love to get into that. For real, man. As much as you love history and and all these weird aspects of history, that seems more... Like, I like history that seems more... I don't know, like, realistic. Like, that's a logical route. That makes sense in my head that it went that way.
You're not always necessarily getting the... You're getting, like, the abridged version.
Absolutely.
Whatever, like, that we've gotten.
Well, look at all of our YouTube videos. Look, all of our YouTube videos are highlights of our life, man. I don't always show that, let's go with, like, working out. Like, I was already into working out when we first going into YouTube, but I literally went from 238 to 180. I hover around 185 now. Like, I haven't filmed most of that. Sometimes you guys see me like rug marching and stuff like that, or running. I did out that motivational video and shit like that to just get people to put one foot in front of the other. But you don't show. It's a highlight reel. It's a 100% highlight. Everything that's on social media is a highlight reel. All those people that you're like, oh man, he's living an incredible life. Look, man, there's some shit going on in his life that they're not showing you.
Yeah.
And they don't have to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely where I'm at.
And I think history's the same way. Yeah. History's absolutely the same way.
Right. The victors write the history the way they want to.
100%.
And then when you dig deep behind it, like I kind of do with Drunken History, it's like there is some really funny, wild shit that went down that we never heard about. And it's like, why didn't we hear about this?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Dude, your Drunken History, the series that you're on right now, that Drunken History kick, I like it. I like it. I sit there, listen to this stuff, and I want to see more of it. I want to see more of it, man.
Like, the best thing about that is history writes itself. All I do is get a buzz on.
You're just going to lay down on your watch. Down. Sit. There you go.
All I do is get a buzz on, and it's like, whatever words come out. And that's the beauty of Drunk History, is like, the story's already there. All I have to do is add some photos to give some depth or some perception to the story. If people didn't know a certain person, blah, blah, blah. Like, and the editing is super easy, but man, like I said, like the story behind the story is always way more interesting than what we get.
Right, yeah.
And the War of 1812 was like a perfect example of that, because, we got the Star Spangled Banner out of it. People don't know that, but that's where that came from. It wasn't just written down by the forefathers during the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
But then they burnt the White House down. Like, at the time,
was that the second time it's been burnt to the ground, wasn't it? it's been burnt a couple times. It used to be a great house.
Yeah, and like, well, why it's called the White House was because
Fresh ass paint after it burnt down.
After they burned it down, they had to whitewash
Yep.
it and turned it white. So it used to be the presidential mansion. It was like this really luxurious thing and stuff. Where now they don't try to turn it into that. It's more of a like, yeah, this is where the president stays, but it's not like over the top luxury, you know.
Right.
But yeah, like it's like that kind of thing that you don't hear about.
Yeah, but you think about like southern. I mean, this is in the day where everything that big was a southern plantation-ish type of house. You know what I mean?
Yeah, true. Yeah,
it's not going to be. It's super old. That is a super old house. Like, if you think about it, that is a super old house.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, and of course, we're all about tradition and stuff like that, so nothing really changes inside there except for maybe a little upgrades in security.
And anything
shit
that does
like that.
change, you and I will never hear about it.
Exactly, yeah. I'll never be invited to that fucking place anyways. But, I wanted to get into, Brooke, this podcast is not about you. I know you've made a great new friend. And
Hey,
you want to just give him kissies.
Murder Inc. is
Look at
popular
him.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Man. You can't mess with Murder Inc., man.
Let's see. Introduced to hunting.
Oh, okay.
Do you remember when you first got into hunting?
Yeah.
Was it what were you going for? Was it deer hunting? What was it? Groundhogs? Squirrels. That's a good spot.
Yeah.
It's a good way to go.
It is. Okay, like my dad had, my dad's obviously a big hunter and really successful. But, so all my life my dad was my hero, you know, and which is like with a lot of people, you know, your dad is your only, you know, male figure, whatever. But, like, so I was always really big into it. And this is a time where they didn't have youth mentor thing. Like, when you were turned 12, you went hunting. But until then, you didn't. But, like, my dad knew that I had, like, a really big itch to go. So whenever I was 11, before I was old enough to go hunting, he had this 410 shotgun and some shells and stuff. He said, hey, come with me. So I remember us going to my uncle's farm, and there was a ton of squirrels on this property, tons of big red oak and white oak trees and stuff. And he was like, okay, he said, like, we're going to walk along the edge of this field, and you're going to see squirrels around these branches. He said, put that bead on your head, you know, because I hadn't shot a lot of firearms to this point, you know. Mm-hmm. Like, I was big into archery, but, like, and the 410 kicks good for, like, a small...
Was it break barrel, too?
Yeah.
Yeah, they kick even harder,
New
man.
England, yeah, New England
kick even
firearms,
harder. Yeah.
break action, you know, and it spits the shell out like 50 feet, whatever. So, and I'm wearing, like, fishing boots and sweatpants. I didn't have any hunting gear. I didn't have any camo. Yeah. And, like, an LA Raiders, like, satin coat.
wait, hold on. You're talking about one of the starters, right?
No,
it starter coats?
It was cheap. It was a knockoff version of a starter.
Okay, wait, because I can remember growing up, the big thing was... Yes. Do you remember the jackets that were, one, they either had the one that you zipped all the way up jackets, or they had the one that only zipped down, like, a little bit, and you had to throw them over?
Yeah, and they had, like, the hoodie pocket.
Yeah, that's when you were a cool kid.
No, I was not a cool kid. So I had, like, this satin button-up, like, LA Raiders, not Oakland Raiders. That's how old this thing is. Right. LA Raiders button-up jacket on. Just stumbling, like, through this, you know, field line. And I think I shot 3 squirrels that day or whatever, but it was, like, a shotgun. So, you, like, yeah, as long as you were close, it was happening. Right. I remember, like, but I was, like, not a good shot and everything. So, like, the squirrel would fall, like, 40 feet down. My dad would have to hit it with a stick.
Oh, man, dude, that blew my mind one of the first times I ever went squirrel hunting. The fact that, like, my grandpa took me squirrel hunting a lot. He loved to go squirrel hunting. He never ate squirrels. But his neighbor loved squirrels, and his neighbor was too old to hunt. So Grandpa would go out hunting just to go out hunting, take me along with me and teach me some things. And then all the squirrels we got bagged up, and we just hand over to the neighbor, and the neighbor would and we didn't have to gut them or skin them or nothing, you know.
Yeah.
And so it was nice. I'd have to deal with the guts, you know, when I was that young. But it blew my mind that he could shoot a squirrel out of some of the tallest oak trees I've ever seen, and it hit the ground and just
took off.
Take off running. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, you got a shot in you, and you just fell 100 fucking feet and smacked off the ground, and you're like, let's go. What's going on? Yeah, I know I'm bleeding. Let's fight.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you guys are hard.
Yeah.
So it weirds me out. Like, last year when I was turkey hunting, or no, or was I deer hunting? I think I was deer hunting. I was up on, I can remember being up, you can see one of my videos I have where I'm up on that giant rock. There's a huge boulder, giant rock. I was sitting on there, and that's where I was sitting looking for deer for a little while. And there's a tree that's real close to me, maybe not even 6 feet. And a squirrel came down that tree and stopped, like right here, and was just sitting out there just staring at me. And I wasn't moving and stuff, and he was just super curious. And I was just like, dude, like I can remember how tough those sons of bitches are. Like if it decides to leap off and go after my face right now, like there's gonna be
a fight.
There's gonna be issues. Like there's gonna be real issues, and I don't want to do that. So I'm like, go away, squirrel. Like go away. I know everybody's like, oh, nice little squirrel. Those motherfuckers got big old teeth on them and claws.
Motherfucker.
And they're tough. They're tough as shit.
But yeah, I mean, between that and then whenever I was waist high, at 5 years old, my dad gave me a panda bear bow, red panda bear, made by Bear Archery, and he was like, well, come shoot these targets and stuff you might be into. And this is when 3D archery is hugely popular in the 90s. And I was a natural at it. And that was the best I ever was in my life at archery, was whenever I first started. Couldn't miss. It was just all instinct,
Mm-hmm.
He gave me a sight and everything, but after a while I didn't even use the sight because there would be 10, 20, 30, 40-yard shots, And I ended up being, a champion archer and stuff. But between, being around him all the time, and he always had rabbit dogs. He was into rabbit hunting back before coyotes moved into Pennsylvania and rabbits were still highly popular and everything. Just always watching him and wanting to be him or be with him is how I got started.
Yeah. And the hunting. Do you remember the first time you got to just go out on your own?
Yes.
It's a big deal in a man's life growing up.
It is. And I remember this very well for this, like you said, it's a big deal in a man's life. I wanted to prove to my dad, hey, I am successful without you. Like, you taught me well. I appreciate everything you've done. I can do this. Yeah. But it was a time when in Pennsylvania you had to have that adult with you until I think 16 years of age. Mm-hmm. I think. And I was only 14 probably, and he has a garage. He's a mechanic, and adjacent to this garage there's like 10 acres of just oaks where there was just nothing there. And so he was like, hey, you want to go squirrel hunting? I was like, yeah. He's like, there's a bunch of squirrels in these woods. And he had like a peach tree by this garage where squirrels would come from miles around for these peach pits. I mean, like, he said it's nothing but squirrels.
We had pears and peach in my yard growing up, just like a line of them, and deer were down there all the time when they dropped.
Yeah, if that's the only certain species of that tree, animals landmark it. But he turned me loose one day and said, I had a 20 gauge shotgun made in Brazil that was his when he was a kid. Mm-hmm. He says, here you go. And I went back here and shot 3 or 4 squirrels, and I remember like it was a big deal, like that I went and killed something without him. I wasn't allowed to tell Mom, because she would freak out that I was in the woods with a gun and everything. Yeah. But then,
See, like my dad always had, guns were always in the safe and stuff like that, except for like your self-defense stuff like guns. So it was a big deal. Like I had to plan it out, and my dad wasn't big about leaving them out in the house while nobody's down. Go on, get down, go on, good girl. Not leaving it out when anybody's out. So it was a big thing for him to hide like my 22 underneath the couch, and I could go take it out and do what I wanted. And the big thing for me growing up was groundhog hunting.
Well, there you go.
I loved groundhog hunting. It was nothing but practice on your trigger squeeze, your breathing, stalking, having patience on. A lot of times the groundhogs will catch you before you see them. But you have to have patience and wait, and they'll come back out of their hole in 15, 20 minutes.
To see if you're
still there.
Right, yeah.
And it was a huge training thing. Because I had to get home. I got home at like 3, finish off chores, and then my dad got home at like 5, and I would finish chores, get my, like 16, of course, get in my car, and I'd drive down to the old dairy farmers, Emmert Moller's farm. It's not there. His farm's not there anymore. It's their townhouses now. It's terrible.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But I used to go down to his, and I had free range to go around his massive dairy farm that he had, and there were so many groundhogs out that thing. I could hit close to 100 a week, and of course the farmers love them because you don't break tractor shit falling in a groundhog hole. You heading out?
Yeah.
All right, babe. Have fun.
See you later.
You didn't have groundhog hogs, and they would, like, a lot of them baled hay and shit like that. So when you're stocking up hay, and some of those trailers got down into the groundhog holes, you dump your hay that you drop.
Yeah.
So the farmers
absolutely.
farmers were 100% open to come down here and kill all the groundhogs,
Yes.
all of them.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think it prepared me for bigger game. I really do. And there's nothing you have to do with groundhogs except throw them right back down their hole that you shot them near.
Yeah.
You know, and the most we ever did with groundhogs, if we wanted to, is if we were planning on doing any catfishing, we'd go groundhog hunting through the day, we'd cut out all their livers, save them in a bag, and then we'd go catfishing at night. So it was an all-day, 24-hour, like, until you passed out on the side of the river catfishing with groundhog livers. So it was a fun time growing up, for sure. First rifle is what I wanted to bring up. I mean, you said the 410 on that shotgun.
Yeah.
But what was your actual, like, first rifle?
Okay. My first experience with the rifle, like, was whenever I turned 12. You know, I finally made it. I was of age. We were gonna go deer hunting. You know, Pennsylvania gun season's the biggest in, like, probably the world.
Yeah.
Come hunting. It's just, there's over 1 million licensed people in the woods. It's like one of the biggest armies in the world.
Is it Wisconsin or Michigan that's a close second behind you guys?
Wisconsin is, but then even like bow hunting, I think Pennsylvania's only behind Texas, and Texas is 4 times our size.
Right.
But I mean, so it's huge. It's a state holiday up there. You know what I mean? The kids don't go to school. The government has work off. You know, it is literally a holiday. But so I've been waiting for this all my life, you know, and luckily my sister wasn't using her rifle that year. She was at boot camp in the Marine Corps.
So you have so it's older sister.
Yeah, I have 3 older sisters.
Oh, okay.
Poor bastard that I was. No brothers, 3 older sisters. Fucking suck. Anyway, she's in the Marine Corps, and so I get to use her guns, lever action 30-30 Marlin. One of the most popular guns in the woods up there.
Absolutely.
Dad turns me loose with it, you know, and I ended up shooting a doe that year in doe season. That's when doe season was separate from buck season. It was its own thing. Like, buck season was 2 weeks long. You could shoot anything that had a pimple on its head, you know.
Yeah.
But then doe season was 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, after buck season was over. And I was lucky enough to shoot a deer and stuff with that gun. That's the only deer I ever shot with that gun. But that was my first, right? And it was a Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation version of this gun. Had a gold trigger, had a gold plate in the stock that had an elk on it and stuff.
Oh, nice.
That my dad had bought from my sister when she started hunting.
See, I had my first one that I can remember. It was a break barrel. I was young, man. I was so young. It was a break barrel 243, and it hurt to shoot. That's what I remember.
Was it a combo with like a shotgun barrel too, or
nope,
just the was it like a New England or whatever?
It might have been something like New England Arms or
There's
something
New England
like that.
Firearms, and there was another one that's like the sister company, but I forget what they're called.
I remember you had a cock hammer on the back of it. It was almost like shooting
H&R.
It was basically like a 410 shotgun. You know, it's just I stuck a 243 in there instead of a shotgun shell. But I can remember it for the age I was and the size that I was, it hurt to fucking shoot. It for sure hurt.
Yeah.
And I know I I can remember thinking, I was like, yeah, this fucking sucks to pull the trigger on this thing, but I'm gonna do it. Like there's nothing's gonna stop me. I'm gonna do it. Like, and it was pretty heavy for me too. It had a thicker barrel on it. At least it seemed like to me at the age, I guess. I never got anything with it, and but we switched to a was it a Remington? Yeah, Remington Model 7. Remington Model 7 7mm 08.
Okay, yeah.
And I had a 7mm 08 that was an exact twin as my dad's 308. It looked exactly the same, except my 7mm 08 was a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
And I dropped deer with that all day long. Like, that thing was on point. I had missed a couple. There's this spot I can remember growing up. We used to come up into the field in this farmer's spot. In this field, after you went through the second gate, he had cows, so there was gated areas. You drive through, and we had an old Jeep truck, the old J10 Jeep trucks, like with the inline 6 in it.
There you go.
4-to-1 transfer case. You know, super low granny gear.
Yeah.
You know, I had a 5-speed with that big old long shifter too. That thing's like 3 feet long. You know.
Yeah.
And my dad had we bored out the cylinders on it, and we had put some better exhaust on it. So when you poured it in 4 low and you stuck it in first, you just had to let out on the clutch, and you could walk next to it and steer it, and it would just blah, blah, blah. And it sounded like a tractor. It sounded like a tractor going through the woods. So that's how we snuck out to our field. So they're like the first 2 days we hunt fields. Like we don't stick into the thick stuff. They're in the fields. They don't know where they are yet.
Yeah.
And of course it sounds like Iraq and Afghanistan the first goddamn day.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
right, you're like, okay, there's a couple there. Like, it's not dawn yet, guys. Calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
Like, you know it every time. To
Right,
this
yeah,
day, they
yeah.
still do that shit.
Yeah. I'm familiar.
But we watched a big huge field that was like 400 yards to 400 to 500 yards this way, and then another one that was like 300 fields this way, and then there was a field up here, but it was up on a hill. And they like to cross right on the edge of that field. I took 2 shots at deer there, and I missed them. Completely missed them, and I never understood why I missed them. I don't know if it was just I wasn't used to the angle that I was shooting at, or it wasn't... Yeah. I didn't realize that... I didn't feel like... It was like about a 200, almost 250 yard shot. It shouldn't have been that hard for that 7mm 08 at all. And I was a damn good shot with it. My dad taught me a lot. He is the reason why I'm a better shot when I went into the Army ahead of everybody else.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely, and I think that's another great thing that you. Hunting's not just going out and hunting. There's so many different aspects to it.
You're right. Yeah.
You know, there's the range time you put in. There's the reconnaissance that you put in. The fact that I'm out here squirrel hunting in the same area that I'm going to deer hunt, so that I can get early signs of looking for bedding area while I'm shooting squirrels and stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Instead of just, and a lot of people think like Appalachia on the Hunt. I mean, he just goes out and searches and puts out trail cams and fucking stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's years of training coming up. I think it should be definitely a stepping stone in a young man's life coming up.
It's something that, as time goes on, it's fewer and far between.
And build your confidence, especially build your confidence. With you know, the day that I started, you know, I could tell that I was out shooting my old man. Like, just ever so often, I'd get like, went to the range this day. I edged out a half-inch group while he edged out an inch group. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
On something like that. That's a moment. Yeah, that's a moment to be like, hey, man, I do this by myself. You know, I don't need it.
And that goes back to, again, like I said, that's an instinct thing where like that maybe for your mind, your rite of passage or whatever was, whether it was your first kill or showing somebody up for the first time was like our version of whatever the Native Americans had for.
Yeah.
You're now a man. That's it, right
yeah,
there.
because I also think I'm highly competitive. And I'm highly competitive to the point where I don't get into a lot of competitive sports because I need to fucking chill the hell out. You know what I mean? That's how I think about it. You know, like, dude, I can remember having fucking long-winded goddamn talks about this is the first dart you're throwing. And when I got a dart championship, just playing bars down in West Virginia, we went on a play darts for a little while. I was hanging out in bars anyways the whole fucking time, drinking my ass off, being a shitbag. So, yeah, I can be here. I'm here anyways. Might as well join the dart league, right? And I can remember getting fucking super mad at people because I'm getting beaten fucking goddamn darts. I was like, dude, you need to chill fuck out, like, bro. So I try not to get into super competitive things because I do. But I'm also at that. I've gotten to that point where I've definitely got it under control. It's just I think competition fuels better progress. I think if you feel like, oh man, I want to accomplish this goal, I want to get to this point, like it forces you to get better, to focus, to train, to and it's all on you.
Yes.
Like when you achieve it, there is nothing that you can say where it's like, I'm not going to stand up here and say, oh, I have all these people to thank behind it. There's certain goals in your life where you're just like, I made it myself. It's all me. I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's amazing how so many things for me, and not to digress, but even with how we talked about the meal to plate and everybody understanding where their food comes from.
Field to table.
Everything for me, so much of it comes back to, I didn't choose this necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
It is just instinct, and that's why I have no bad feelings whenever I kill an animal. I'm going to eat that thing. I'm going to feed my kids with it.
I respect the fuck out of it.
Straight up, it is. And there's, like you said, with fire, there's like a handful of things: eat, sleep, fuck, fire, whatever. Yeah. That are you can't get them out of you. Even competitiveness. I'm competitive because I want that fire in me to be better than that dude. And that's whenever it comes.
And who gives a fuck if that guy's your friend or a stranger?
When the chips are down, man. Fuck you. Yeah. It's on. Absolutely. You know what I mean? That is so. And it's crazy how many times in your life that comes up. That is just instilled within me. And I think the further society goes along, the more we get removed from that.
Yeah. I think I'm a big believer in you losing and failing is just a learning opportunity, and whether it gets put out as somebody actually told you what you should be learning or what you got to figure out for your own. Yeah. And once you figure it out on your own, it shows that you're maturing as a young adult, that you can see that your losses and your fuck-ups and everything like that were all just learning experiences. Okay, what can I do to avoid that next time? And just learning how to avoid that next time is you growing and improving.
Remember how that shitty that feeling that was when you didn't succeed, and go,
don't
remember
do that
how much
again.
That sucked? Yeah, we don't like that. Let's go to the...
And don't take those steps again. Don't do the exact same thing, because the end result's going to be the same end result.
Yeah. But it's funny how that has factored into almost everything we've talked about so far. Is going back to just plain Jane, it's instilled within me, this is what's going to happen because it's burning inside me.
Yeah.
That's the road.
I got to.
Yeah.
I got to. I can't... I know, when I got out of the Army, man, it was... I just wanted to do whatever the fuck I wanted to do, and I wanted to be just a drunken fucking asshole, and I wanted to go get drunk and hang out at bars and meet friends and do whatever. That's all I wanted to do, and I needed... And that's how I ballooned up to 238 pounds. You know what I mean? Just got fucking big, man. And just being a shitbag. And then the moment when I was having to hold my breath a little bit till I get my shoes tied from bending over and doing this because my gut's in the way.
That was your
I was moment. Bro, I need to make a change.
That was your rock bottom.
Yeah. So it's I need to change. And I started to. And the only way I can improve that stuff, I was like, dude, I gotta fucking calm out the drinking. Like, I need to get on a fucking certain type of diet that's makes me happy to be on. I don't feel like I'm restricted. And like now we're drinking beers, but this is my first beers I've had in over a week. You know what I mean?
Right,
it's just every time I like to hang out with friends and drink beers. It's still a part of who I am. It's still it's just I don't need to be shit-faced drunk all the goddamn time.
Yeah, and I mean, in moderation, your body is more than capable of handling it.
So I throw it into. That's why I started getting more into fucking hunting, and I started getting more into. Okay, well, to get better at hunting, I need to be in better shape, and especially the type of backcountry type of hunting that I want to go on. I want to go huge, massive public lands. I want to stick a deer or an elk, and I want to have to cut them up. I want to stick it in a rucksack and have to haul it out. Like that's what I want to do. I want everything to be constantly fucking new. I don't want to have to hunt in a, I guess the terminology would be like hunt in a circle, where I like go out and hunt and then I come back to headquarters every night, you know, or go out this way and hunt and come back to headquarters every night. And I guess that's the mentality for elk hunters, isn't it? Like you have to follow the herd and keep going. You can't
I've never hunted elk out west or anything. But
no, I haven't either.
That is kind of one of those
I'm
deals,
just
like,
guessing.
And the guides out there, they're like tough motherfuckers.
Yeah,
and they're like they don't give a shit.
Boys from fucking Oregon and Wyoming, dude, those are some good old boys right there. Those are hard guys.
A lot of what like they're like whenever they're humping is this. You know what I mean? It's not just like, oh, we're going to walk 3 miles that way. It's we're going to walk 3 miles that fucking way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
And all I know is hills growing up from West Virginia. Like, that's all I know. Like, dude, it was so weird. Like, my family lives out in, some parts of my family live out in Iowa. And to visit them and just the fact that...
like the flatness
it blew my mind to see something like that.
That's
Anybody else like, this is boring, this sucks, Iowa sucks. You know, everybody in Iowa's like, this sucks, I hate this place. Yeah. Like, it was an entirely vast, I was like, dude, do you realize how much I can get done and cover ground? Because I don't have to,
and like,
20 steps, take a breather.
I went out to Chicago once, and once I got like through Ohio and stuff, because like I live in the mountains, obviously, and then like once you get down into Pittsburgh and stuff, it starts to level out and stuff. Like, going through Ohio and then into Indiana and stuff, I was like, "This, holy shit! I can see like like you said, it blew my goddamn mind."
Well, see, I went out to my buddy Colin. He's from Kansas, and Kansas close to Colorado stuff. And we went out to his place. Was it this year or last year? I want to say it was last year. Yeah, last year. I'd never been out that way, and I noticed his. It was so weird. Him and his cousin, Limpy Joe, they can spot jackrabbits like we spot groundhogs and deer. Like growing up for me, it was like there's a groundhog. You know, in the truck, driving around with my dad, there's a groundhog. Yeah. You know, like there's deer. Like every time, you're constantly looking at it while you're in a vehicle and stuff. And he would see, he's like, there's a jackrabbit. And I'd be like, where? What the fuck? Where am I supposed to be looking at? Because I've got 15 miles that I can see. Like what do you, and he's like, there. And they could spot that shit so fucking quick. I couldn't do it. And I was like, dude, I'm used to spotting groundhogs doing 80 miles an hour down the road, you know, and be like, there's a groundhog. You know, just real quick. What blew my mind, man, was we went to Kansas and Colorado, and there's always a wind there. There's always a wind. There's always...
Right, because it's flat. There's nothing to stop it in any direction.
And I didn't realize that I was getting so used to feeling it until we got into the city where I didn't feel wind, and I literally stopped. Now, don't get me wrong, we were out of Colorado, and we were having some left-handed cigarettes, a good bit of them.
Right.
And but I got to the point, we walked into this city-ish area, kind of a townhouses type area, and I stopped, and I was like, dude, I don't feel the wind. Like, I don't... It's so... You get so used to that environment so quickly that a slight change, you can tell there's a difference. Like, it blew my mind. I was like, I don't feel any wind. Like, it's really weird. I'm used to... I'm feeling muggy shit out here, you know. Every so often when a breeze comes through, you're like, yes... But it's got to make it through the thick-ass oaks to get to me.
Yeah, and hills and whatever else,
It's an entirely different aspect of the country. Blows my mind. And then you sit there, and I haven't been to Wyoming. I want to go so bad, and like Montana and like Oregon. Oregon's a big dream place for me to go. I want to see I want to see those fir trees for miles. And
the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, Pacific Northwest.
I'm like that. I can't relate to that in any way, but like whenever I see somebody, I'm like, my God, that looks amazing.
It's like a cedar jungle, dude.
Like another thing that's always in the back
old
of my
growth
head
forest
is like I'm kind of big into like Lewis and Clark and stuff.
Yeah,
and like the story of what those guys do is fucking nuts.
Oh, that's what I wanted to bring up. I'm glad you said. Yeah, definitely we need to talk about that. But I wanted to bring it just so I don't forget it. I wanted to talk about get your take on what do you think it was like for the first person, especially like Lewis and Clark, that were pushing way west, no idea where they were going, what they were going to deal with, had no idea. They were pathfinders. The first time like somebody heard an elk scream in the fucking woods, not knowing what the fuck.
And it was, honest to God, it probably almost had to be those guys and their core discovery or whatever. But like that's why my fascination with the Pacific Northwest is like, what was it like for them to get into the Pacific Northwest? And whenever they were talking to tribes and stuff, and the tribes actually started to reference the West Coast. And whenever they finally crested whatever hill or mountain they were on and saw the Pacific, it was like, holy fuck, we did it. Because
imagine, that's how, dude, I guarantee 100% that's how Denver got started. Like, I'm pretty sure they got there and they looked west and they were like, you know what? I'm not fucking doing that.
Yeah, right.
I'm fucking sick of what I've just dealt with.
I'm good.
And I've seen these mountains that you just see, and you're looking at them and you're like, even the saddle alone, like just the low part of that is tremendously high. You know what I mean?
Well, you can see it for how many goddamn miles.
That was incredible, dude. We were in the Kansas fucking side heading towards Colorado line, a good long hour and a half, 2 hour drive. And you can see the Rockies forever.
Yeah,
and you're like,
cool, we're almost there. No,
man.
So imagine how long they had to stare at that.
And and imagine on a horse, on a carriage, or on a wagon.
Yeah.
Like you're even slow. I think you're faster walking than you can't carry as much weight, obviously, but you're faster walking than you are on a fucking carriage.
Right.
You know what I mean?
So they're going a couple mile per hour, so they're staring at these things
and then
for
horses,
days.
Horses, you're not running like this all the fucking time.
No.
You have to go super long, so you're just like, hey, thanks for carrying me. That's basically, you just walk, I'll just point you in general direction, take your time.
Yeah.
You know?